Hey guys, thank you for joining me for a very special video. This video is my process video for making my card for a Instagram hop, which is called Love Larissa Hop. We are all making cards inspired by our friend Larissa to share love with her, and I love her. She's my friend. So this is her card that I am going to case. It is a shaker card, so I had to copy it. It has a heart, and I love the ink blending of this card, and it's a good layout to turn into maybe a different theme. So I am using my sketchbook here. This is the Sketch Plan and Create card making sketchbook from Trinity Stamps. And so I've sketched out what I want to do here. So I'm going to have a dark wintry sky like is in my inspiration piece. And I'm going to do that with ink blending and splattering. Then I'm also going to have the heart-shaped shaker window. And I'm going to have that be snowy inside. I'm still playing with that. I do love the yellow, the contrast there. But I might need to do a different color combination to go with my card. So we're going to see how that works. And then I want to put Tiny Snowman here, which is a brand new die set from Trinity Stamps. You see here? He's so cute. So I didn't know, maybe I could fit two, and that might be really cute. So we're going to see about that. I love how it has the heart-shaped buttons. It just plays into the heart here. And then I'm also going to do some snowy hills instead of the like billowing smoke there. And then I'm going to put my sentiment here at the bottom, which I'm still trying to figure out the sentiment. I really have one in mind that I'd like to do, but I don't know if I have it in a stamp. So I've got my nested heart die set here, also from Trinity, that I'll use for my opening, which is what I think she used here. So yeah, we're going to do that. And then I don't know if you can see in my sketch, I drew some greenery. This is one of Larissa's favorite die sets. So I wanted to include this. I barely used it. It's the holiday candle and botanical set. There's 3 different candles here. And then you could put it in a wreath. You can build like a little floral arrangement around your candles. There's the word joy that you can use the wreath for the O. There's a bow. It's just really super cute. So I thought I might try to put some greenery on and around the heart and give it a Christmassy vibe. So that's what I'm thinking. I think Larissa will love it, and I hope that she knows how much I care about her through this hop. Now, if you want to check out the hop itself, I will have my link to Instagram in the description box, and then you can find this card there and hop along with everybody that's participating in the hop and see Larissa's card that they cased and what they came up with. So it'll be lots of fun. All right, let's jump into the card making. I am starting out with that ink blended background. So I have prize ribbon for my blue ink here. It's just a nice vibrant ink, but it's also a darker blue, so I love that. I'm using my blending buddy brush from Trinity Stamps and just doing a circular motion, and I'm trying to keep the edges darker and then have a lighter center, like a center highlight. I like that kind of look, and I think it'll look good around the heart. So I'm just going around the edges and working my way towards the middle, but also that middle part is going to be die cut out. So I don't really need to do a ton there at all. Now, to give this an even darker night sky feel, I'll go around the edges with some black soot. So I'm just coming in, maybe half an inch, and I'll do that on all 4 sides. And then once I have that done, I'm going to bring back my blue brush, but not put any ink on it, and just kind of soften out the edges between the 2 colors and give it a final, blend. Once that's done, I am going to splatter, like I said in my plan, and that's going to give it an oxidized look and be my first layer of my snowy scene. The second layer will be this Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. You can see I've got a window sheet here. It's a really sturdy one that is specifically for this splatter. And I just loosen it up with a little bit of water, use a paintbrush to splatter it on, and then I'm going to dry that because I want to do one more layer of splatter and I don't want them to mix, which is going to be some sparkle. And I'm going to just splatter this on. They do have this available at the Spellbinders shop, a newer version of it, and I just love it because it already has the brush in it, so it's nice and easy to splatter it. Okay, once that was completely dry, then I'm bringing out the second from the smallest heart, It's not the smallest, but it's one bigger than that. Heart. And I placed it where I wanted my window to be, and then I die cut that out. And I'm just being really careful not to remove any of the paper, like have it pull up, because it could be still slightly damp with ink blending. So, all right, so here's the die set that I'm using for my hills. These are nice and long, so you can create these for any size of card, and you can go portrait or landscape with them. And there's little trees, so this is great for scene building. I did contemplate using some of the trees on my card, but it didn't seem to go as well with my inspiration piece. So I'm just playing around with which pieces here I want to use from the white cardstock. And you can see one side of the die will leave an embossed line, which I love that edge. So I decided to use those edges, and there's my base for my card. Now I'm leaving them long. I like to be able to scoot those around and then trim them off as I need to. Okay, next I am die cutting out all the teeny tiny miniature pieces for Tiny Snowman. These dies are beansy, so you're going to want to make sure that you have tools on hand like tweezers, pickup sticks, and maybe even back some of these pieces with rip and stick sheets so you can turn them into stickers and not have to use glue. Little tip there. Now I'm dusting the edge with Distress ink in Lost Shadow. This is a tip that I learned from Larissa when we were at Creativation. She had a card there and was talking to me about it and how she likes to use Lost Shadow on the edge of our die cuts, which I have adopted and I love. And a lot of people say, oh, I learned this from Carrie, but really it's from Larissa. So I'm using Lost Shadow Distress Oxide ink here on the black. And what I love about it is if you do use oxide, it shows up on black and colored cardstock and white cardstock. Like you only need this one color to dust up your die cuts. It's so good. Okay, so I did the hat, the little two pieces of the hat, and then I'm going to bring in this center, like the hat band, and you can see here I'm bringing in the tweezers. I'm using a precision tip glue, which is really helpful in sticking all these things together, and they go together pretty easily. As you know, it's a snowman, you kind of know where all the things go. Right? But just knowing the hat band from the scarf pieces, just look at the photo on the packaging and that really helps you determine which is which there. And then I'm going to add on some holly that's also in the set. That's another thing I love about snowmen is they almost always have holly for their hat, and I'm a huge fan of holly. So I added that and the little berries, which I'll accentuate the berries with a glaze pen in a little bit so they really stand out from the hat band itself, which is also red. Now I'm adding the eyes, and you know there's a right side and a wrong side to your die cut. I'm always having to try to flip that over, and my little tray here has the lines in it. I found that kind of helpful to do that. So having this pickup tool is really helpful because I can pick up the tiny pieces with the wax end, and then I can scoot them around with the pointy end. So I use that tool every single day. So good. All right, so now I'm adding my snowman head to his body. It's just so cute. It really is adorable. And then the little scarf is perfectly curved to fit the edge of his head. It fits there so snugly. And then there's two pieces for the scarf, and they can layer up together. The bottom one I put up against the scarf, the bottom of the scarf, and the other piece I put up against the top of the scarf and just overlapped them a little bit. So really cute. Then we have our heart-shaped buttons. Oh my goodness. They're so darling and so tiny. I love him. I think this snowman is so cute. So if you're just prepared to work with tiny pieces, you have the right tools, you have somewhere to put your die cuts, then it'll be a more enjoyable experience. All right, I am bringing in a Copic marker, actually a Olo marker, to color the edge of my die cuts because Larissa shades all of her die cuts. It doesn't matter how tiny they are, she is going to shade them. I know she will. She loves all the little details, and I do too. So I am making sure to add color and dimension and shading to all of the things. I even gave him some pink cheeks and then decided to add on his arms. I kind of wasn't sure at first if maybe I was going to leave them off, but then I decided they were good. I needed them. it adds to it. So using the tweezers for these really thin arms and just sticking them up against the scarf, and then he's just kind of holding his tummy. Then we're going to add white highlights. I love to add white highlights with the white gel pen, and so does Larissa. She's really excellent at that. So I want to make sure and add my lines and dots to each little section. It just brings it to life to have that white highlight. So there he is, so cute. I used a glaze pen. I don't think I mentioned that as I was doing it, on the berries. So their berries are going to dry nice and shiny. All right, now we need a background for the shaker. So I'm going to use this all stacked up stamp set and take out I think there's 7 or 9, I don't know, a bunch of little snowflakes in this set. And I'm going to use those to stamp and emboss on this red paper. So I'm going to have white snowflakes on red paper, which I just love that look. So that's what I'm doing. I'm using the heart as kind of a window because I don't really need to stamp anywhere else outside of that window. So I'm just trying to maximize my time. And when I move these, because I need to fill out the rest of the heart, I'm making sure to clean them off, to clean off any residual ink, because if I don't and these stamps move, then I'm going to get a little spot that needs to be embossed, and that's not going to be cute, you know. That's why I put my powder down, is so that the embossing powder that I'm going to use is only going to stick where those stamped images are, and that's what I want. I want that clean, crisp look. So I'm rearranging these to finish out the heart. I do actually end up stamping like 3 more on the edges to fill in little gaps, but it's just the same thing. You know, stamp it, reposition it, powder it, heat it, and we're good. Now, the biggest snowflake in this set, it might be hard to see with this embossing, it has a little smiley face in the center. It's really so cute. All right, so I'm adding adhesive around my window on the back side of my ink blended panel, and then adding my window sheet, which is from Pear Blossom Press. And I love their window sheets. They're nice and sturdy and very clear, so great window sheets. And then adding on my hills, which I did dust with some of that lost shadow, and then I'll trim off the sides, the parts that I don't need anymore, and then it's filled up my card. This is a really good way to make sure that these are lined up versus trying to cut it to exactly 4 1/4 inches, or 4 inches in my case. Then I added some foam strips all around my shaker window. I made sure all the edges touched. I'm using my cottontail tool to reduce any adhesive tackiness on the edge of my foam squares. And then I'll clean any of that powder off of the window itself, so my shaker will still be nice and clear. I also buffed any powder off of my emboss panel, so it was also nice and bright. But my emboss panel was kind of warped. I don't know, this paper was a little bit thin. I'm not even sure, but I just felt like it was warped and it wasn't coming back. So I put another lightweight piece of white cardstock on the back of that to make it more sturdy, and really pressed that into place to give it a little more flat area to work with. Now I'm going to create my own custom embellishment mix. I'm using the pearlized shaker pop beads, some white confetti snowflakes here, and oh, they got a little bit staticky. One did not, it did not want to come off, no. And then I have these sparkles in my stash left over from a kit, and I just love them. I decided to leave them on my desk so I can use them a lot. And then red sparkle spots for the finish. So I mix those up, but before I put my shaker together, I realized I wanted to stamp my sentiment on the front of my card. Now, I know I've got the foam there, but that foam is very sturdy, and I covered that card. So I felt like it was okay to go ahead and stamp right on it with my Misty, and it worked out. And it says, "You're Flake-tastic." Comes from the same set as the snowflakes. I will have all the products I use for you linked below, so you can check those out if you're interested. All right, now it's time to add all the shaker bits to my panel here. I did go ahead and remove the backing on my foam tape, which is why if something touched it, I needed to pick it up and move it, because it would stick there and then create a little opening and some of my things could escape, and I don't want that. I am going to go ahead and add a little bit of liquid glue around all the things for security purposes. I want to know that this card is secure and not going to come apart later. So I did that and then just lined things up and stuck it down. And there you have the little shaker. It wasn't like imperative that this heart get on there exactly perfect. So I felt safe about just sticking it down. Here's my little snowman or tiny snowman. I'm going to stick that on with some thin foam squares, and that is going to be perfect, I think, with just one snowman. Okay, so here's some die cut elements from that holiday candle and botanical set. I thought you'd want to see some of those. And then I'm going to now stick down a large pine bow to, I think this are like dogwood leaves, but you know what? Larissa uses this kind of plant in her photos. So I decided I had to add it to my greenery here. So I'm just playing with light green and dark green and creating little clusters. I even have some teeny tiny miniature, look at these. They're about the same size holly as on the snowman's hat, but I did them in darker green this time. So that's going to go at the base of the cluster, and then the red berries will go there as well. I did end up cutting extra berries and putting some on the pine boughs as well, just to add an extra pop of red, and I'm loving how this is turning out with a little decoration on the edge of the heart. It's so good. Now in Larissa's card that I'm casing, she had like a shooting star on her heart, so this is just like a nod to adding something extra on the heart. All right, this is a souffle pen. So this is going to come out somewhat clear, and then it kind of expands and turns white after a couple minutes and gives it kind of the look of snow. So this is going to be really cute on this greenery, I think. All right, so I wanted to pull out this die right here. It's a little like skiff of snow that you're going to put underneath the snowman. Doesn't that look good? I think it's going to look great on the finished piece. So I die cut that from some white cardstock that has a little bit of rip and stick sheet under it. I dusted it with my Lost Shadow Shading Sidekick brush without dipping it into the ink again, but just enough to give this a touch of color so it will kind of stand out against that white background. And there's little, 3 little pieces to this. So I'm just adding on those other little pieces, and remember I put rip and stick sheet on the back so it made it into a sticker. I didn't want to forget about the edges. I didn't want them to be too stark white, and just helps tie the other shading in if I dusted up the edges. So I shaded those as well. Then I pulled out one of the smaller snowflakes from this die set and went ahead and stamped some on that snow because it just looks so stark white compared to the busyness of the top of the card. So I think that and Lost Shadow, just nice and subtle, really was the finishing touch that I needed. So I went ahead and added this to an A2 size card base, which is a 8.5 by 5.5 inch piece of cardstock scored at 4 1/4. That gave me a nice white border on all 4 sides, which is how the inspiration piece is. It is my favorite kind of card to make. I love having the white border around my card front panel. Now I'm going to take that stack of snowmen and ink this up with Lost Shadow, just making it really subtle for the inside of my card, and I'm going to stamp that down. So you could write over the top of this and have it just be a subtle fun thing in the background, but the sentiment I want to use is going to go with this really well. This is also from the same set, and it says snow one, I don't remember what it says. Snow one stacks up to you. There we go. Yeah, so that completes the inside of my card. A fun little something to make the recipient smile when they open it. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed today's video as much as I enjoyed making this card for Larissa. And make sure that you hop over to Instagram and check out the hop. It's linked for you in the description box. And if you want to play along, just use that hashtag Love Larissa so we can find your card. And Larissa, if you are watching, I'm sending you lots of hugs, and I hope you enjoy this hop. I'll see you all again very soon with a new crafty video. Happy stamping! Bye!